So the way we started Triple was a basic question that I had was, how many of you know which stock to buy? Like, you know, the S&P has 500 stocks, right? How many of you know, like, what the 10 stocks that is in a portfolio? How do you discover? The second problem that we had was like, and that this happened with me with Twitter. So anybody say, hey, Twitter is a great company, go ahead and buy it. I did buy it, and then my friend sold it off, but did not tell me that. And I was left with Twitter at $30, and it went down to 15. And he said, hey, you know what? You never said me that when to sell. So those were the two big issues that we had. And then we did almost like 500 interviews of people across different investing types, age, and one thing came out that, people are trying to solve this problem of investment and trading in very different ways. And you have heard about Robo, you have heard about platforms like Robinhood. I'm going to speak a whole lot about both of them. But what is missing is a complete holistic approach to investing. And I'm talking about no crypto, no blockchain. This is pure play. Think about E-Trade. We are talking basically trying to do E-Trade. So there are three big issues. There's a learning issue, like, and we're trying to actually have a Udacity model, which is like, which helps you learn, for example, how to do ETF, how to do options. And that is something which is driven by a concept called knowledge map. This is something which is not new. Sal Khan uses that in his academy. So if you go to Sal Khan's academy, which is an education portal, so let's say you're learning algebra, right? From algebra, you can go to calculus. From algebra, you can actually go to linear mathematics also. So he has a map which goes from literally counting 1, 2, 3, all the way to calculus. And you can traverse through the path. We're coming out with a very similar thing. For example, it starts with that I know only Apple to buy, to actually going to a high-frequency trading kind of algorithm. So it can be a learning path for that. That is something which we're building. So for that, we are actually allowing you to do paper trading, actually get yourself acclimatized to different forms of trading and making losses and stuff. And all that knowledge about you as an investor gets fed into our AI engine to actually give you better recommendations, which actually is in the find segment, right? So if you take a look at typical discoveries happen very ad hoc. Like, when you're actually thinking about buying a new stock, you typically either on CNBC, but CNBC or the 500 stocks that are there. By the way, there are 10,770 stocks in the US stock markets, and not talking about global. You actually pick up only 5 stocks or 10 stocks. That's it. Unless until something major happens, which basically happens for a tier 3 stock like in mergers and acquisition, where you have no role to play, or they simply go bust. So we are trying to make smart discoveries happen. The smart discovery portion of it is we have a proprietary data source, which we actually do an affinity analysis on, and then you give out. Think about Google and Yahoo searches for cow. In 2001, it would have said, hey, cow has 4 legs and stuff. But today, if you search, there's no Yahoo possibly, but you have Bing, you actually get a completely context-driven. Like, for example, my Google search on cow would be totally different to yours. And that is all because in the last 17 years, Google has tried to understand you, and it has made a model of you. We are actually trying to do that. People, when they go ahead and model investors, there are like 4 or 5 tags. Where you are in your career, are you a conservative guy? And what do you look for in the next 20 years of your life? But life is a continuum. You have different challenges, and you don't keep on answering questions to change your strategies. And it needs to be a real time. So that's what we're trying to do. The third thing, I can't say we can actually give you a trigger for like when to sell, because that's not allowed. But we are allowing you to do something called portfolio management, which is like in any time, if I see there are 10 stocks, but I know that you should go ahead and rebalance your portfolio, we'll give you an option to do that. And that will be a one-click rebalance, which basically would come as an real-time instruction on your phone. So, hey, you say, hey, rebalance my portfolio, so I'll buy a new set, but you need to give me access to that. All this with the AI engine that you're building. There's no machine learning over here, it's pure AI. So that actually gives us, like, where are we placed, like in terms of your mental map, where we should be. So this is what the state of industry today, right? Apart from E-Trade and stuff, because E-Trade and other guys actually do a whole lot of let me just put it like E-Trade has $2.6 billion revenues, of which 475 comes from the trading portion. The rest is all proprietary, and they do a whole lot of other stuff, which actually is not for retail investors like us. So on the left-hand side, when Betterment and Wealthfront came in the picture like 10 years back, it was supposed to be this great thing which will take you and get you, would have like 4 million people in its user base and go to like 100K and manage your 401K. That thing has never happened. So, and you can read about it, but what happened was when you had actually sending a large chunk of money, right, and it is not handled where you don't even know what they're investing in, people start disbelieving the platform. So they actually, it never, for example, right now, the maximum or the average account dollar for both of them is $40,000. They don't have more money. And it's very skewed because they may have this $1 million account, and the rest are literally in the $5,000, $10,000 range, right? So if you take a look at the recent ones, for example, Betterment went B2B. So they actually started getting to startups and companies to actually use Robo as a part of their portfolio, not a B2C. Wealthfront is still B2C, but they're trying to create a concierge service where if you have more than 100K, they will actually have a guy who you can call and actually make investments on your behalf. So the Robo thing is totally failing at that point, right? On the right-hand corner is where the biggest success is Robinhood, obviously. It has 4 million users who downloaded the app. The highest or the most popular stock is Apple, and that is held by 156,000 people. That's it. So almost 90 to 95% of their user base actually have $0 in their account. So they make no money, they make no trades, right? What it showed, though, is a very interesting stats that if you take a look at E-Trade, Scottrade, TD Ameritrade, and stuff, E-Trade has roughly around 4 million users. Scottrade has around 11 million users. These guys, though, have never been able to penetrate the millennial market. And there have been massive reports that the millennials never participate in investing. At least with Robinhood, that thing is broken. That, yes, in fact, the reason why they're getting funded at $6.5 billion is simply because they have the user base which none of these other guys have. And it's a very great acquisition target for these guys. But it's a problem because they have a problem that there's no way to actually go ahead because it's almost like a no-help platform. So if people are not they don't know what to buy, what to sell, or when to sell, you won't get engagement, or you won't actually, you won't get engagement, or you won't get user participation. We actually are trying to go ahead and solve all of that. And by the way, we added one more thing. So we said, hey, we do all of that and charge you $9.99 per month, unlimited trades. Absolutely, no hassles. We did one more thing. We actually added international trades. So you can trade from here to Hong Kong, to Australia, to Germany. But that's a premium model on top. That's all. Questions? Yeah.
Any questions? Oh, there's one in the front, Deepak.
How does your engine get educated about me as an investor? So let's say I'm typically those kind of people you were talking about, and I never do anything. I put my money to 401k or whatever, and I don't have the patience for it, or I don't really know anything to even attempt to do something, right? If the education could actually mean I get quite down, right?
Correct.
And then you're learning from it, and you might have some negative biases on it. If I'm losing, you keep on losing more with me, or if I'm gaining, you gain more with me. How do you actually go from educating discovery to call to action kind of
Absolutely. So,
Could you kind of summarize that question for the audience?
yeah, so basically what he's asking is that, for example, if you train any algo, it's supposed to be biased in the same way. So if you have a failing strategy of games, right, it will learn how to fail always and it will start shorting, right? So, and then how do we tie up together that, how do we make him a better investor? So there are two portions of it. One is the engine for discovery is actually not based on what you are buying or selling. That is based on a hedge fund data that we have, which is basically, it's a public data source. For every hedge fund, more than $100 million in the US, have to go ahead and form Form 13F. And that actually is, and you have to do it pronto if there's a major change, which is like 10% change in the portfolio, or every month. So we actually don't track that because the timing is always off by a month at minimum. So, but we do, for example, right now we have a database of around 250 odd hedge funds having like 100,000 trades. So what we're trying to do is an algorithm on that, which basically says, hey, if you have Facebook and Twitter, you should possibly have Dow Jones too, because you know what, the best of the best guys are thinking this way, right? So it's discovery. It's never is that what you're allowed to go ahead. So once you go ahead and say, hey, Dow Jones looks okay, fine, and then we have a proprietary algorithm, we say based on you that capacity. We would like you to engage with the platform, because if you don't engage, in fact, would possibly go ahead and throw you out if you're not even trading, right? Because if I don't know about you, if you don't give me your data, there's no way I can make you a better guy, right? So one of the things, that's the reason why you're taking out the risk because of $9.99 per month, because people typically, when they start losing money, right? So if you start, for example, there are two ways. One is that you are trading by yourself, and you lose money, which is fine. Like you say, hey, I don't know. Then you go to a learning platform. The second thing is if you start losing money using our algos, right? Where we actually would make sure that, given that we are not promising you, because nobody can promise you a return, but one of my co-founders is a hedge fund guy, so I can only show you historical data. So this team has done like 100% last year. Over the period of time, it has done 261% return. So we have 4 years of hedge fund data on ourselves. One of our co-founders, he actually runs the hedge fund himself. So that's a skill set that he's bringing to the table.